Sorry about that. stand strong, the path is clear. The shadows crawl, the weak may fall, deception spreads to choke us all. I won't be fooled, I won't comply. I raise my voice, I will not die. Rise from the ashes, break every chain. Truth is our weapon, fury flame. The world may tremble, the night may scream, but we are stronger than what we've seen. I've beaten the base, I face the night, no one stands with me to claim the fight. No more lies, no more deceit. We rise as one, and our hearts won't retreat.
Well, good evening, folk. Good evening, Ken. Good evening, cousins. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, yes, friends, enemies, Hell, I even welcome the trolls tonight. What's going on, y'all? Alethea is here. Nice to see her. Kylie's here. Nice to see her, even though she's having a bad day. Deborah Truax is here. Crowfoot is here. Super Galactic is here, enjoying his music. Who else is here? Just Frank is here. Carmen's here from Australia. Who else? Jay Mars is here. Lots of folks showing up in here. Star's a little late tonight. Lawanda's here. Wow. I am pleasantly frazzled today. It's been a really, really weird day for me. But it was really weird in a good way. I finished the first book, Assault on Aquarius, which I think was about my 20th book. I should go back and count them up. And then I started about 5 days ago my new book, which is Assault on Camelot. And I just finished it just a few minutes before the DEprogram today, the first draft, but it's really almost done for me. I just have to spell check it, format it a little bit. And it came in at 508 pages. 508 pages. I've never written anything that long. And Cynthia giggled when I told her this, but I truly believe it's the best thing I've ever written. And it's the longest thing I've ever written. Alethea's a dude. Sorry. That's right. I know that. And I know this sounds really weird, but it's the best book I've ever read. And you remember my bookshelf. I've got, 300 books up there? So I've read a lot of books. And this is the best book I've ever read. So, yeah, I'm very, very excited about it. And I'm very, very excited about this DEprogram. Although this is the first time that I can remember. There was a couple times when I was a preacher where I actually got up in the pulpit and Ivan's here. I had nothing had come to me. I wasn't able to prepare anything. Well, tonight, mostly because I don't know how many pages are in the Bible, too many, but mostly because I was writing that book, I really don't have anything prepared tonight either. And I remember that when I was a preacher, the few times that I came to the platform without anything typically prepared, those turned out to be some of the best messages and the best services that I ever came up with. So we're going to look for a repeat tonight. We're going out over YouTube. We're going out over X. We're going out over Facebook. We're going out over Rumble as well. And man, I went over 600 subscribers on Facebook in my first month-ish. Very happy for that. I mean, even the Barclays chill went sideways as I was trying to switch the camera with her and me, and it just went sideways, so I didn't post it. But man, we've got some good stuff tonight. We've got some exciting stuff tonight. And let's ask that. I'm going to ask how many pages are in the New Testament?
The New Testament typically has
Ooh.
250 to 300.
There's only 350 pages in the New Testament, and I just wrote a book that's 500 pages. How many pages in the Old Testament?
The Old Testament typically
About
has
800 pages in the Old Testament. So that gives you an idea. This is my what do they call it? My opus magnus. And I can die happy now, Bella. Not that I'm going to, but I'm really, really excited about it. Really stoked about it. So we got rods tonight. We got the gypsy cards tonight. We got, I might even break out the spirit box tonight. I haven't done that in a while, but I think we're going to have a good time. I think we're going to have some fun. We probably won't be here as long as normal, and I'll make it up to you on Sunday. I might even just give you a bonus. The font is a 12, set at 12. So I don't know if that's tiny or not, Kylie. Don't know if that's tiny or not, but 12 I think is about right. Good evening, Artie. Nice to see you. It's been a while. I know you've been through it. I hope that things are coming out better for you. Very, very nice to see you. Mav, if you're watching, I got your rods mailed out a couple days ago. I know you're local, so you should maybe already have them, but you'll have them very, very soon if you don't have them already. So if you do want to order rods, you can get your rods. These things are awesome. The rods are fantastic. I make them personally myself by hand. That's the first set I've made in a while. It was really fun to get back into it. Unfortunately, I can only send them to the United States. But if you do want your own rods made by me, here they are, the rods, the great rods. And if you want a rods question, just put your question in capital letters in the chat. And the phone lines are even open already. So you're welcome to fully participate in this DEprogram. But the rods are $50, which includes your shipping. Again, only for the USA. Just send me an email to Gotham Ltd, Batman Limited at gmail.com to order. It's Gotham Ltd. You see it on the screen at gmail.com. So if you want to have a rod question, just put your question in all caps. Oh, that's the wrong one. If you have a rod question, just put it in all caps, and we will answer your rod question. If you want to call in, I just ask you to be polite, interesting, and platform friendly. The phone number is 913-228-2586, 913-228-2586. And I'm pleasantly frazzled. It's been a long time since I got caught in a writer's loop. And boy, this week has been bam. I think that is a normal day, normal size Kylie. I used to do them larger, but nah. But I mean, this book, it's absolutely amazing. Best book I've ever read. But let's go ahead and jump in. I think we've got some clips to play. Let's play these. Let's enjoy these, and let's rock on.
Hey, let's go. Finals. Do you still? You can do it all by yourself. Let me see you do it. Let me see you do it. Hey, stay finals. Do you still? You can do it all by yourself. Let me see you do it. Let me see you do it. Hey, chilling in the build. Yeah, we getting crawl.
I think Jim sent me that. And I think Jim said that's my kind of girl, riding a horse, shooting guns, some pleasant, bouncing around. So, hey, you got to enjoy yourself every now and then, right? Yeah. That was a good one. Thank you, Jim. I believe it was, for sending that in. I just see something pop up on my email. Jennifer Sexy Tattoo wants to be friends on Facebook. I think we're going to go ahead and delete that one. I'm going to go out on a limb. Sorry if that's one of you cousins, but the Jennifer Sexy Tattoo, I just don't think that's one that I really want to jump into, literally and metaphorically. Literally and metaphorically. All right, let's roll on.
Okay, you've never heard this about the Apostle Paul. Is this actually true? Check this out.
The average male in the first century would have been 5'4" to 5'6". Paul was probably 4'6", 4'8", probably weighed about 100 pounds or less. The name Paulo in Greek, Pavlos, means little. In the second century, there's a text called the Acts of Thecla and Paul. The author says, then he saw Paul coming, a small man with regard to height, bald on the head, curved in the legs. This language, according to Isaac Soon, who's done the research on this, is indicative of dwarfism. In Damascus, Paul was let down in a basket, and Isaac Soon has investigated these baskets, and it would only hold somebody less than 100 pounds. Isaac Soon concluded persons with short stature and dwarfism were stereotyped, made the object of humor and derision, and subjected to violence and process of dehumanization. There's a lot of stuff in the ancient world about the significance of how a man should look who's going to be a leader in the Roman world. Sort of like an athletic build with gifted oratory and skills in military or in the public setting. When Paul showed up and started speaking, people would have said, "Really?
Yeah.
This is Paul?" And that disrespect did not leave Paul. Paul says they're judging by appearance.
I don't know why, but I feel like this changes each scene of the Apostle Paul that I played in my head. Is this true? What do you think?
Well, I think it's probably a little thing called kosher disclosure. Number one, I think that Paul, after, I was 17, I'm 63, I'm going to round it up to 20. After like 45 years of study, I'm pretty well convinced that Paul wasn't a real character. He was a fake character, just like the Jesus character. And I'm further convinced that it was probably Josephus playing the Paul character. And I'm even further convinced that wearing a ball cap like that on your DEprogram makes you look like you got an afro or that you're wearing a baby hat. I don't think that I would do that. Just a note. He's probably got way more subscribers than me, but I think it looks kind of weird. That's just me. That's just me. I see this as kosher disclosure that the Apostle Paul, you should have known just by seeing him. Sometimes you can't judge a book by the cover, but sometimes you can. And it's funny because I was on TikTok live last night during the hot sauna talk. And I shared that I got down to less than 185 pounds. And somebody said, well, for being 6'1", 185 pounds is about perfect. Well, folks, I got a disclosure for you. I am not 6'1". I am not 6 feet. I'm 5'11", but I know I am about 6'4" on YouTube, 6'4" on X, 6'4" on Facebook, 6'4" on Rumble, but I'm not really that tall. And the first thing that everybody always says when they meet me, and this used to bother me, but it happens with such regularity that I just kind of roll with it now. The first thing everybody always says to me is, wow, I thought you'd be taller. Well, I'm not. Funny story. You all remember Heidi Vandenberg. We love Heidi. And Heidi and I, of course, worked together a lot on the internet. We collaborated a lot off the internet. And we got to a place where I was having the extravaganza of enlightenment down in Clearwater, Florida. And we had reached an arrangement, an agreement that when Heidi came down, we were going to go on a little date after that. But when Heidi got to Clearwater, Heidi decided that maybe going on a date wasn't the best idea. So this is a graphic IRL in real life example of what happens when somebody, and my son had this classic line. He says, well, she really thought the Christian whistleblower was hot, but she wasn't that impressed with Jeffrey Darty. And that's exactly right. And that's no big deal, right? That's just the way things are. And I don't know if Heidi's ever heard me tell that story, but I just laugh about it because it's just the reality of the world that we're in right now, right? And it was just kind of funny. And the thing that at least Heidi was honest about it, not like Cynthia. To this day, Cynthia came to that extravaganza of enlightenment. I don't know if she's on or not, but she claimed that she wasn't attracted to me. Now, 10 years later and 8 years into a marriage, I'm pretty sure she's not telling the truth. You know, she was attracted right off the boom. I know she was attracted right off the boom, but I guess she's just not that comfortable admitting it. Now, there might be a small chance that she wasn't attracted to me initially. I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it. And I just wish that she would unburden herself of the need to make up stories like that and just admit when she saw me, she was blown away by my sexiness overpowering her from the very first minute. I'm pretty sure that's the way it happened. And if it didn't, in my mind, that's the way it happened. No doubt about it. So if you ever, when you do meet me, and I hope we all do meet, I hope that you won't say, oh, I thought you'd be taller, but every one of you will, because that's how you are. And I get it. That's cool. That's fun. I don't know why I went into that. Just thought it was funny. I just thought it was interesting. Karen was there. I don't know how you couldn't have met in person, but you at least saw each other. So that was back in the good old days, back in the clear water bunker. How many of you remember the extravaganza of enlightenment? Rex Bear, Dan from Overwatch Project, Jenny Moonstone, me. Who else was there? We had the famous, I was a vegan then. We had the famous carrot dogs. That's a chili dog made with a carrot. For some reason, they weren't a big hit. I liked them. And what's her name? Hillary was there. And she liked them so much that she took them. She took them all. Kylie is 5'6", and she once dated a guy that was 5'2". Wow, he must have had some real game, Kylie. Because Kylie's cute, and she's dating a guy 4 inches shorter than her. Spaz, that dude must have been pimping. That's all I can say about that. But I've said too much about that. Let's roll another one of these.
So they're out there. There's big people. There's big.
8 feet is nuts.
I have personally seen people who were over 8 feet.
What?
I saw these guys up north, northern Canada. I was up in Ojibugamo, okay, this Cree village. I'm there for arm wrestling, and I'm looking up. We're walking up the stairs in this hockey arena, and this dude, I'm like, that's a really big dude. Me, and I'm like 6'5". I was about at his nipple. Okay?
What?
Yeah, big hands, big long hands, like out of the Goonies, like misshapen face. I'm like, my God, I'm like, how big are you? He's like, just laughed at me. He's like, my dad's 8'11". He's like,
what?
Yeah, big.
My dad's 8'11".
I'll tell you, there's big people. And people don't know about them. Guinness doesn't know about them. They live up in the woods.
That region of the country is extremely remote.
Extremely. Like, it's like going back to like the 15th century. They don't have electricity. There's not even really roads. We were doing a mobility exercise. Okay, mobility, I hate mobility. Basically, you get in a bunch of trucks and you kind of roll out and you kind of look for a fight. So we were doing like a 2-week mobility north of the Panjway, surrounded by mountains, this big valley. There was a village that we were going to check out. I'm a dude on a machine gun, but I can see everything that's happening. I kind of know what we're doing, but I know that there's a meeting. So we were meeting with one of the local warlords. Our officer and a couple dudes went forward, and we're looking about 200 meters away, but I can see the guys. We got optics. This guy, I mean, he was maybe twice as big. He was huge. He was a massive dude. Our officer was at the bottom of his chest. Great big Afghan dude. Big beard, big dude. And he was broad across the shoulders too. He was probably twice as broad. Massive, massive human. And his lackeys around him were normal size. Great big warlord. What they have is they have these warlords. It's not the same kind of political system or anything that we have in North America. The baddest dude in the region becomes in charge. It was shocking, but it's neat how they structure their leadership. That's the guy in charge.
The most massive guy,
I hope he was a nice guy. He seemed reasonable, like we didn't get in the fight.
And so the Kandahar giant story, the guy is supposed to be even bigger than that.
Yeah, I heard
Do
it.
you believe it?
I do. Yeah, I do. There's freaks out there.
But this guy supposedly
See how
had,
long
like,
it takes
6
somebody to say,
fingers
"Oh, that's
and 6
AI."
toes.
Yeah,
Did you hear of that story, the Kandahar giant story? So supposedly what happened is American military guys encountered this guy in the mountains. They said he was like 12 feet tall.
Yeah, well, what happened with the Nephilim, you know?
Right. Supposedly they had 6 fingers and 6 toes as well.
Look, I believe that things come to visit, and sometimes things get left behind, and who knows? There's a good chance that he's maybe just a little bit closer to all that. There are fascinating stories out there.
Very, very interesting stuff. Very, very interesting stuff. Of course, I have my own take on the Nephilim. I think I'm a Nephilim. I think the Nephilim were the sons of God, the Tuah that originally came to earth to liberate the inhabitants of earth that had been invaded by Rabbi Laitman's people from the other side, people from beyond. And we were great in stature, but the word stature in the Bible does not even really mean height. That is a possible interpretation. But when you look at it throughout the text, it means they were men of lore, men of renown, badasses, Odaharte, destroyers. They were really, really tough. And of course, Rabbi Laitman's then, even as they are today, tend to be a very short stature. I know Lathia says he's 5'5", 115. Wow. So there you go. Mav, did you get your rods yet? You should have them. I know you're local. I did not realize you were local. We've got a few guys and girls that are local, so I'm very seriously considering starting up a meetup so we can have some local fellowship is the only word I can think of, even though that's a Christian word. I think that would be just dandy. I think Artie's on here tonight. He's local. We've got Chris that's local. And I think there's even a couple more people that are local. Of course, Cynthia and I are. We should do that. That would be a lot of fun. So yes, that does go to the giants and the giants lore. And they're real. There's giants out there. There's no doubt about it. And of course, the Abrahamic Matrix wants to say they're all bad guys. And Kylie says she went out with a short guy. I guess he was a musician. Now, I understand that that kind of thing goes over to evangelists too. And when I was an evangelist, it was very rare that I wouldn't get, after a meeting, a $50 bill with a girl's phone number on it. So I don't know what it is about guys that can play the piano or preach, but it's just one of those weird things. In Maverick, I did get behind. I had a crazy week last week, but they were mailed out a couple days ago, so you should get them any day, being a local bro. So let's move on. This is crazy.
A company called Leonardo, an Italian defense giant worth over $17 billion, has built a sensor that clips directly onto flock cameras and cameras like them all across the country. It's called an ELSAG, an LSAG signal trace, and it does not read your plate. It reads your devices. As you drive past, it grabs the Bluetooth signal from your iPhone, the Wi-Fi signal from your laptop in the back seat, the RFID from your key card, the identifier from your AirTag, the signal from your tire pressure sensors, your car's infotainment system, even your pet's microchip. It combines every one.
And the craziest thing that I never heard anybody but me talk about is that it basically was saying that it grabs, I don't know why that one didn't have sound. Sometimes it happens. Basically saying that attached to the flock cameras are these new technical sensors. And James, and anybody that puts it in, a lot of times it's your system. So you might want to refrain from just saying, we can't hear you, you're on mute, there's no sound. Because a lot of time it's on your end, and it kind of starts a big kerfluffle in the chat. And if I haven't recently taken my psilocybin supplement, sometimes it irritates me. But that was the old Jeff. The new and improved Jeff doesn't really get that too much anymore, except for every now and then, like when Melanie Moran pushes my button. And I have apologized to her, and it actually turned out to be a favorable and helpful comment that she made. But Everybody's all mad about the flock cameras on the telephone poles. Everybody's all mad about them pulling data from us as we go by, looking into our car to see if we're on our phones, taking all of our information. But Lord have mercy. Rick Godley's in the house. Did you know that every time you go to church, if you go to a church that probably has more than 100 people, they have the same Chinese level, Palantir level, facial recognition beamed on you in church? As soon as you walk into church, they're doing everything that flock does. What the flock are they doing? They're pulling your facial recognition. They're pulling your social media. They're pulling your iPhone thing if you got that on. They're pulling all of the data, maybe even from your credit cards. So you better check your balance and see if your church has taken an unauthorized offering. And I know they say that Jesus sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He's making a list. He's checking it twice. He's going to find out who's naughty and nice. So be good for goodness sake. But why does he need it if he is omnipotent? We have a Rod question coming in from Super Galactic. And Super Galactic says, sorry, wrong way. Super Galactic asks, do you think the Christians are the children of the sun that will eventually fail? The rods say yes, and I agree 100%. Mav, you might want to handle your rods a lot when you get them. That sounds kind of weird, but we're talking about these rods. And some people will even sleep with them close by because it can take a minute for the rods to get aligned with your personal energetics and frequencies. So go ahead and handle them a lot. I usually, when I'm going to use them, hey, Basement Shaman, I'll warm them up by, whirl them around like this. I don't want to hit myself in the face. I'll whirl them around. I'll get them warmed up. They are copper. So you want to go ahead and get them warmed up before you use them. These I've been using for years, this one set. So we're pretty well in tune. That's just some practical rod information. I usually put a little 3x5 in there that says that, but since you're here, Mav, I forgot yours. So there you go. I did sign your cardboard though. I don't know why. I just think that's kind of fun to do. All right. So let's move on with another one of these bad boys. Oh, that's the same one. Oh, because you know what? That's the last one on that deck. So forget that. And that's the flock cameras. And you've got them in your church, guys. You've got them in your church. Is that all right with you? It is not all right with me. And if I was a pastor in a church, or if I was preaching in a church, I never, ever, ever would have gone into a church or preached in a church that had that nonsense directed on their people. But that's just me. I'm different. Jessica, welcome in. And Kylie says she only dated musicians because she enjoys being serenaded. Well, that's okay. That's okay. I think a lot of ladies enjoy being serenaded. I'm not against it. Let me go ahead and pull this back and share it with you. Stop a minute. Come on, Jeff, get it together. Let me show you this because this is a good one. Let me get it set. Okay, here we go. Here we go. You ready? He was out in the jungles of Tennessee. I know they had jungles in Tennessee, but that's where he is. Whoops.
I don't know if you heard, but we're out in the jungles of Tennessee right now, and we just discovered a bunch of Dead Sea Scrolls in the US and America, and it's putting us all in a tizzy, to be honest. So average citizen hiker.
I know I shouldn't, but I just have to. Every scroll you find is not a Dead Sea Scroll. The Dead Sea Scrolls are called the Dead Sea Scrolls because they were found in the Dead Sea. You did not find those in the Dead Sea. You found them in Tennessee. So those were Tennessee scrolls, not Dead Sea Scrolls, but they were found in a pretty cool place. Let's let him play on.
found this cliff face with these cutouts, and they were interested, so they approached them, and they were shocked when they saw all these pottages. They thought they were Native American or artifacts. Luckily, they called us. We were able to get there, and they're like Dead Sea Scrolls. They're in Aramaic. They're in
No, they're
Reformed
not.
Egyptian writing. I'll let you know as we find out more, but this could be the biggest discovery of our lifetimes.
Now I was muted. Karen says, oh, he might have meant Dead Sea and he just mispronounced it Tennessee. That's funny. Well played, Karen. So let's go ahead and move to the next one. This is super cool. Look at that. It's a bird.
Wow.
How cool is that? Now, that bird is either really friendly or that bird is terrified, because that's usually when they do those big physical displays. But I thought it was a leaf, and it turns out to be a super cool, awesome little bird. And he looks kind of friendly. Maybe he's just showing off. I'd like to read that guy's palm. Looks like he's got an interesting palm. But that was pretty cool. You know, we like to start with some animal stuff.
Tell us what the data centers are really for.
Processing hubs for neural data and real-time targeting. They ingest mass surveillance feeds, run AI pattern recognition on brains, and feed directed energy systems, not just cloud storage, command nodes for the wetware interface. Fusion centers on steroids, scaled for population-level control. They're building biological data centers using lab-grown human neurons as living processors. Cheaper, more efficient than silicon for certain AI tasks, and perfect for modeling or interfacing with real brains at scale. Wetware fusion.
Well, that's not scary at all. And I was just sitting there thinking, wow, she's kind of cute. And then I saw she had Aramaic, Islamic writing stuff. I don't know what the name of that bird is. I just call him a super cool bird. So I wanted to back off of her. I just don't like that. Maybe it's he's in, like Mav says, he's either in fight mode or love mode. I think he might have been in love mode there, but she was cute. But I mean, are they really going to these neural processing data centers? I don't know. Part of me says that'd be good because it can process more data quicker and not suck away from the overall grid. Part of me says that's a little bit scary, but it kind of is what it is. And we're going to roll right along.
What he just say?
The world's biggest computer. I want to donate it to the government as a gift for the benefit of all people.
What does this computer do?
Why, but now with the geek in control, nobody will have to work, not even housewives.
What will people do all day?
Oh, why, just sit home in their geek-built houses, eat geek-prepared meals, and spend the whole day watching movies and sporting events on their geek television sets.
But that means actors and athletes will still have to do their jobs.
No. The actors and athletes won't be real people. They'll be electronic images programmed to go through the motions of a play or a variety show or an athletic event.
Hey, imagine Joe Namath can sit at home and watch himself playing a football game that he never really played.
Yes, exactly. No one will have to wear himself out doing a job of work. The geek will do it all.
Well, how about us school kids, Professor?
Aha, let me show you.
That's not scary at all either. This is obviously like a 60s cartoon. I think that's the Super Friends. Oh, 1979. It's a little bit off, but wow, can you believe that? Her Majesty says that data centers are a really bad idea, but we know she lies anyway, right? We know she lies anyway because she said she was not initially attracted to me. And I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. We were joking about you a little bit, honey, before you came on. But come on, you can admit it to the people. You instantly were overtaken by my hotness and my sexiness, even though I was probably 50 pounds heavier, had a really bad haircut, and was sporting just a soul patch back then. And soul patches are not exactly Cynthia's best thing that she likes the best about a man. I'm still on the fence about data, AI. I think I agree with Mr. Spock on the Enterprise. He was speaking about computers, but it applies more broadly to AI. AI makes a great servant, but it makes a terrible master. That's where I come down. I like using AI. I think it's a very good tool, but I do not want to be controlled by AI. And speaking of weird, I'm sitting here watching, I've got my Gmail up because I'm going to look at some stuff in there. And remember I said I just finished a book that's 508 pages. I wasn't typing anything in, and all of a sudden I get this email that, oh, okay, it's a clip from Restream, and it said finishing a 508 page book. Cynthia says she'll have to go back and watch from the beginning. Karen says that all of her girlfriends in happy marriages claim they weren't attracted to their husbands at first, but Cynthia's lying. You got to remember that. It's the only lie I can ever remember her telling. And of course, I'm being a little facetious because I know she was really hot for me from the jump. I know she was. And you know how I know? I'll share a little more of the story, because when she showed up wearing a cute little dress and it had like the whole back of it cut out, and I was single. I was looking to mingle. It was the extravaganza of enlightenment. It was, a gathering of the, the elite, if you will. And I intentionally had to go past her, and I put my hand right in the middle of that cutout in her dress. And she did not show him the picture. I'll try to find it. She did not flinch. She didn't move away. In fact, I think she kind of went, oh, when I touched her. I kind of remember hearing that. I do. And why that is relevant is because she told me a story about this dude. Cynthia dated on the internet like we all did. And, we wish that we hadn't. And she had some guy fly from, I think it was Boston to Kansas City to go on a date with her. And not only did she not even kiss the guy, I feel a little bit bad for him, but she wouldn't kiss him. I think he kind of, did a little gently try to put your hand around, the bottom of the back and just kind of, and she wasn't into that. So now tell me, objectively, I'm all about the facts. She lets me put my hand right in the middle of that cutout, bareback, goes, oh, come on now. She said, stop. I'll stop, honey. It's all in good fun. I hope I don't have to sleep on the couch tonight, folks, but it is a pretty comfortable couch. So anyway, there we go. Enough about that. I blame Kylie. She started talking about why she likes to date people. Claudette says it's nice to know how you met. Power couple. Appreciate it. Let's move on before I get in deeper trouble.
Oh my God, this is it. I can't believe I'm doing that.
Black people have always had a certain amount of moral currency that we have been using. And let me be the first to tell you, that's used up. White America has been watching us act like fools for a long enough time where any sympathy they may have had to our plight is completely gone. You're approaching a country that, forget hating black people or not hating black people, they just don't care. You can be talking about affirmative action, they can be like, I don't care. It literally is of no importance to me. I don't care about slavery. I don't care about segregation. I don't care about you. I don't care how many of you all go to jail. I don't care at all, because I'm broke. You can't be the proud, noble fighter when every single time someone sees a person that looks like you on television, they're acting like a damn fool. How would they know you're not a damn fool?
He has a point, and then he doesn't have a point. Sometimes, the chick with the king crab spider legs was all over me. She was probably 6'5", and probably 5 feet of it was legs. I agree with you, Alethea. She was feeling me, bro. Oh, yeah, we got some objectivity in here now. But, sometimes people start reacting to reality. And I say we're not alone. There's great black people, there's bad black people, there's great white people, there's white trash people. But this is a call to the black leaders to get your people straight, because you don't got to go on TV now to see a black person acting a fool. You just got to go to Walmart, Kmart, Taco Bell, drive down the road. Yeah, we got problems in the white community, but y'all got some problems in the black community too. We got work to do. You got work to do. Everybody got work to do. But if all of your people are acting like fools, then the best thing for you to do is get with your people and get them to stop acting like fools. Black leaders, step up. We need you. We can't optimize the entire human race if we can't optimize our own races. Let me move on before I get in trouble with the platforms.
Parents, do not let your child be weird. Now, I made a post about this a while back, and it's funny, I've seen a lot of people who have taken it since then and then put their own spin on it. But let me be very clear on what that means, because I was a teacher for 20 years. I taught every level, lots of kids with varying exceptionalities, and have seen it in the classroom. Let me tell you what you need to avoid. Yes, your child should be unique. Yes, they should have their own style. Yes, they don't need to be exactly like everyone else. However, if your child has habits and tendencies that are causing them to be ostracized in school, they do not have peer relationships, it has gone too far. As the parent, you need to parent them. Your job is not to just love them and let them be however they want to be and send them out, because what you're doing is you're sending them out to ridicule and scorn.
Oh my God, this is it. I can't believe.
What he just say?
The world.
Oh my.
Parents, do not let your child.
I can't take any more of her. That's crazy. That's crazy. She needs to go eat a sandwich and quit doing so many military presses and leave people the hell alone. The last thing you want to do is start breaking your child's spirit. And I'm a guy that raised 3 children that are all very straight, very successful, very happy members of society. One of my greatest disappointments, one of my greatest failures as a parent is that my son was very spunky, very full of life, very outgoing. And as a preacher, I crushed that. I think I actually broke his spirit, and it's taken him into his 40s to get back to that. So this lady is crazy. And I think that the millionaire guy there, I forget his name, he's going to tell her the same thing, only I can't keep watching. So now I'm not telling you to let your kid do dumb things and stupid things, but if your kid wants to dress like Elvis Let them dress like Elvis. If your kid wants to be different, let them be different, because that probably means they're a strong and powerful individual. And what she's really worried about is that other parents will think her kid is weird and then think she's weird. And she probably is weird. Somebody find out who she is and send her a hoagie. She needs a big fat hoagie, and tell her to stop doing so many damn military presses. Be good to your children, Anton Daniels. Be good to your children and let them be children. One of the saddest movies I ever watched, it was that one about the guy that wrote Peter Pan. Johnny Depp played it. And he said that his greatest regret was making his children grow up too fast. Don't do it. White girls crazy, black guys got it right. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone.
You see, there is something rather extraordinary that happens to a person around the age of 40. Not to everyone, mind you, but to those who have been paying attention, to those who have not been entirely asleep through the first half of their lives. And what happens is this: they wake up, not with a jolt, not with some dramatic revelation necessarily, but with a quiet recognition that everything they thought was important, well, it simply is not. Now, this is curious, because we have been told our entire lives that youth is the golden time, that the 20s and 30s are when life really happens, when we are supposed to be climbing ladders and making names for ourselves and proving to the world that we matter. And so we spend those decades running. Running after what exactly? Running after an idea of success that somebody else handed to us, an idea of happiness that came from some magazine or some television program,
and an idea of God that somebody else forced on us.
That has nothing whatsoever to do with who we actually are. I remember being 25 and thinking I had it all figured out. I knew exactly where I was going and exactly how to get there. So I was so certain, so absolutely convinced that if I just worked hard enough, if I just achieved enough, if I just accumulated enough, then I would finally be happy. And you know what happened? I worked hard, I achieved, I accumulated. And when I got there, when I reached that place I thought was the destination, I looked around and said, is that all? Because you see, the first 40 years of life, they are really a kind of preparation. Not a preparation in the way we usually think of it, as in preparing for something better later. No, it is more like the way a caterpillar prepares to become a butterfly. The caterpillar does not know it is preparing. It is simply living, eating leaves, crawling around, doing what caterpillars do. But all the while, something is building inside it. Something is getting ready. This is what your 20s and 30s are. You are the caterpillar. You think you are just living your life, making your mistakes, having your heartbreaks, building your career, trying to figure out who you are supposed to be. But really, you are gathering material. You are collecting experiences. You are learning lessons that you will not understand until much, much later. When you are young, life feels urgent. Everything matters so desperately much. That job you did not get, that person who rejected you, that mistake you made at the party last weekend. It all feels like the end of the world. Because when you are young, you believe that every moment is defining you, that every choice is permanent, that every failure is a judgment on your worth as a human being. But here is what nobody tells you. All of that urgency, all of that desperation, it is just
nonsense, I think is what he was going to say, and he's right. Give yourself a break, those of you that are young people. And I know a lot of you, I don't know if you have a problem, but you're not totally thrilled that I'm on TikTok. But here on YouTube, my demographic is people that are 35, 40 and up. On TikTok, I'm reaching young people, 20s, 30s, a huge amount of them. Supergalactic says people don't have enough curiosity, too much certainty and not enough curiosity. That's great, Supergalactic. That is worth being put up on the screen. That's powerful. So give yourself a break. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, and don't get yourself pigeonholed so young in life. I remember literally thinking when I was 20 years old that my dad, who's no longer with me, who I miss every day, who I talk to every night, yes, he's gone. I still talk to him. And I picked that up off the House show, by the way. There's a lot of good disclosure in House. But I thought he was one of the dumbest people I've ever met in my life. 20 years old, I thought my dad was dumb. 3 years later, I had my own son. And I realized that my dad was one of the smartest people I'd ever met. And of course, I couldn't figure out how he had learned so much in just 3 years. Give yourself a break. Don't think you got it all figured out. Live and learn. Don't have certainty. Have curiosity. Thank you, Mav. He says he doesn't have a problem. It's all about getting the message out to as many people as we possibly can.
You think trees come from the ground, seed, soil, water, growth. Obvious, except it's wrong. A mature oak weighs 10,000 pounds. That mass did not come from dirt. In the 1600s, Jean-Baptiste van Helmont proved it. A tree gained 164 pounds. The soil barely changed. So where did the mass come from? Not soil, not water, air. Trees pull carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and use sunlight to lock that carbon into wood. Every trunk, every forest, solidified air. And it doesn't stop there. The carbon in your body was once floating in the sky. You were rearranged air powered by ancient sunlight. Like I said, understanding doesn't destroy wonder. It deepens it. Look at a tree again. You're staring at sunlight made solid.
Wow, that's profound stuff. And you wonder why they want to cut down all of our trees. We wonder why they want to cut down all of our trees. This one doesn't have any sound, but let me narrate this for you. Flock, you can now, you, me, Kylie, anybody, I don't know why they don't have sound, can go on the internet right now. He even gives the website in this video somewhere, and you can access the Flock cameras. And you can, there it is right there, that's the website. You can actually access the Flock cameras. You can go to a location where you want to creep on people. You can watch the camera. You can stop it. You can grab the data that Flock grabs from other people, and then you can do just what he's doing. Go on the internet, click on the links, and you can find what city they're in, what state they're in, where they're going, who's driving. You can access the data that Flock is accessing. This is coming from Hood Radio. How scary is that? Now, if I'm a lady, I'm even more scared because that is Creeper Central right there. If I'm a parent, I'm even more tuned in because that's Creeper Central. And as a guy that doesn't want to have people snooping on me and snooping on my wife and snooping on my kids and snooping on my grandkids, so they're making it easy for people to stalk people. What the flock is going on here? As James Newkirk says, I don't put this kind of stuff out to scare you. Mav says, I wonder how this could be misused. Wow. Just keep your eyes open. Watch your six. Have some situational awareness, because we're getting to the place where there's a lot of effery going on. There's that same one with no sound. So, you know, we've talked a lot in the past about electricity. Is it real? Where's it come from? And why are they charging us for it? Well, I'll read this to you because you probably can't see it. I'll go full screen on it to help a little bit. But developed by Scottish inventor Alexander Bain in 1841. There's something called an earth battery. It generates a small voltage, about 1 volt, by burying two dissimilar metals like zinc and copper into moist soil. The damp dirt acts as a conductive electrolyte, completing a voltaic circuit that he used to power clocks. And today, if you look around, Colleen sent this to us. It's amazing stuff. If you look around today, start looking, start noticing, and you'll see bare, covered grounding wires and rods running down utility poles into the ground. They look like copper pipes, but they're really solid copper wires or even copper clad, remember, dissimilar materials, steel cables. And of course, they're just used to safely direct lightning and electrical surges into the earth. Or are they what they're actually charging us for? And here is Shane Aletheia. He took a look at Matthew 26 and he started wondering, is this some kosher disclosure? On the surface, it looks like outsourcing divinity, but in the Strong's Concordance, could it be telling us that we have the spark of divinity within and that the whole, the panta, is possible? Maybe we should read it more like, when you recognize the divinity within you, all things become possible. Is this possible kosher disclosure? Let's go to the actual verse so I can read it for you. I'll go to the Bible Hub on my phone. And Matthew 19:26 says this. Give me just a second to get there. And now, of course, it doesn't want to, I guess my hands might be a little bit sweaty. Trying to get to Matthew. Here it is. Matthew 19:26. Matthew 19 and verse 26. What does it say? I love people studying the Bible. Matthew 19:26. Jesus is speaking. It's the words of Christ in blood red, because he's all about the blood. It says, with man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. And that word God does not mean the God of the Bible. It means a God, a goddess, any divine thing. So if it's impossible, and when they were saying it goes with it's easier for a rich man, it's easier for a camel to go through a needle than for a rich man to get to heaven. So Shane is asking, hey, when Jesus, the character, said, with man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible, he very well could be right. This could be saying, hey, if you stay within the man-made, man-dominated, most men believe it, Abrahamic matrix, the impossible will be impossible to you. The supernatural will be supernatural. But if you can realize the panta, the whole, when you can realize the divinity within you, all things literally become possible to you. The fear and guilt Judeo-Christian mind control matrix is set up to keep you from learning who you are. Because when you learn who you are, you'll very quickly find out who they are, and you'll find out that you don't need them. I do this every now and then, but I want to do this again today. You know, as a trained, kind of scientist, I have a minor degree in geography, and you have to learn the scientific method. You have to learn empiricism. And before Christianity came to earth, this is how deity was conceived. Man reaching to God, the gods, the God of your choice, man reaching to divinity in a straight line. A straight line. So what did Christianity bring to us? Christianity brought to us, in its defining symbol, the cross, right? And what does the cross do? Some of you might even have one around your neck right now. I hope not. But what does the cross essentially do? It takes that straight line to divinity and puts a crossbar on it, a roadblock. And even the Bible itself tells you that there is now one mediator between God and man, and that is Jesus. At the cross, where they turned off the lights, and my access to divinity went away. It was there by faith I gave a wife my sight, and now I'm stupidly happy all the day. Come on, folks. It's right in front of your face. Every time you drive by one of those, you ought to be reminded, Jeff, he ain't so crazy after all. He knows what's going on. Why do you want to cut off your access to divinity? Why do you need a middleman? You don't want a middleman anywhere else, but you're okay with a religion that demands a middleman, like a banker. Come on now. Like J. Bing says, we are gods and goddesses. We do have direct access to divinity. Jesus meets you at the crossroads, says Maverick. The crossroads is where you meet demons. Is Jesus the ultimate crossroad demon? It sure seems that way. It sure seems that way. And I just went through another deck. So, wow, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, boys and girls. Wow, cousins of all ages. Are you picking up what I'm trying to put down? Here's something else I want to show you. Came to me from Randall Hilburn, one of our great contributors. And you've heard me say, and you've probably rolled your eyes. Didn't your mama ever tell you that they might get stuck that way? You probably rolled your eyes, and every now and then Cynthia will do it to me, but it's kind of weird because it kind of wants to make me get mad, and then it's kind of sexy all at the same time. So it's one of those conundrums. So she'll roll her eyes at me, and part of me wants to slap her, and part of me wants to just grab her. But anyway, you've heard me say this, and feel free to roll your eyes, that not only should we work with people of other races to help us defeat the Judeo-Christian fear and guilt blood magic matrix that is dominating us, but I suggest to you, we want to be open to working with other species. Jeff, what are you talking about? Now, Jeff, you told us that the Jesus character closely resembles a vampire, and he does. But I've met good vampires. I met Saint Germain. He taught me one of the most powerful spiritual lessons I've ever learned. Love or hate, it's the same energetic frequency. And you've heard me say, maybe not so much lately, but I would prefer you love me, but if you don't love me, I'd prefer you hate me. Because what I don't want you to be is ambivalent, because I can't use ambivalence. There's not much energy. But if you love me, I take that love, I put it back into my quiver, and I've got an arrow that I can use to help us win this war. Charles says, yes, the cross does become the ultimate block between us and divinity. If you hate me, guess what? And this is what Saint Germain taught me. If somebody shoots hate at me, he said, pretend it's a flaming arrow. The arrow is the energy, and the flame is just their intention. So you catch that arrow, you blow out their intention, and now you've got all that energy. You just put it right in your quiver, and you've still got another weapon to use against the Abrahamic fear and guilt, Judeo-Christian blood magic matrix that is enslaving us. So there are good vampires. I mean, literal vampires, not these goth people, but literal vampires that are just as sick. And by the way, They're not really drinking blood anymore. That's for Hollywood, because you can get the better stuff via energetic vampirism. And of course, I'm not endorsing that, because that is the taproot of Christianity. But there's vampires that are just as sick of this Judeo-Christian fear and guilt, blood magic, mind control matrix as we are. And there's also werewolves. There are real werewolves. I'm not talking about Twilight werewolves, although that's probably one of the more accurate presentations within Hollywood. But they're werewolves. They are called were creatures. And they are of a different sort. They are another species. Among the ancient Teutonic peoples, among my ancient ancestors, there was a group of warriors that would actually take on the various spirits of animals when they went into battle. They were the kind of the prototype for the werewolf type. They were able to possess and tap into both their human and their animalistic spirit simultaneously. The berserkers, which comes from the bear shirts, like bear, rawr, bear. I don't know about that, J Bing. They say they think Epstein and that ilk are one of the ones that actually consume blood. No, that's the Christians. The Christians are the ones that drink blood. Jesus said, if you don't drink my blood and eat my flesh, you have no life in you. I'm pretty sure that Epstein was an advanced esotericist, and he would have leaned more towards the energetic extraction. I know that's a reach for some of you, because we get so psychologically and emotionally attached to these mind memes that they create. And they want you to think that they've got to trap people and tie them to an altar and cut them with knives and, dribble their blood into goblets and drink it. That's what they want you to think. That's what they want you to believe. Because the reality is even more terrifying. They can energetically extract the same and more powerful substances from you. And not only is it more powerful for them, it's also much, much safer. It doesn't leave any marks. It doesn't leave any bodies. It's safer. It's easier. And it's the good stuff. You don't have to believe me, but I'm just trying to help you out. Now, Randall says, and he was a little younger, he could drop down on all fours and run for like 75 yards faster than he could run on 2 feet. So he thinks he might have some of this lineage in his DNA. There were people that took on the spirit of the puma. My people, specifically the Odahartes, we took on the spirit of the stag. There were some that took on the spirit of the boar. And when the holy Christianized Roman Empire was taking over our people, they were terrified of us. They were terrified of the Odahartes because we had that strong spirit of the stag, that strong oh, that's well said, Kylie. Kylie said that they're more cannibals than vampires. And I agree with that perfectly. Her Majesty says they talk about these things in the emails. I know they do, but is it possible? Is it at least worth considering? And remember, the most advanced among us can hold competing ideas in their mind simultaneously. So you can take in the data from multiple ideas and get more data. More data will eventually lead to better choices and better decision making. So yes, there are some still doing that, but I want you to be aware of the esoteric reality. And there was a guy named Dr. Andy Toltek. He was one of my early mentors. We started out on Blog Talk Radio together. And he was a MD. James, they want us to believe they love that. But do they really? I'm just putting it out there for you to consider. I'm putting you out there to consider. You called twice, and let me see what's wrong here. Oh, because I shut down the lines inadvertently. Let me go ahead and open them back up. My bad. My bad. Voice. Let me open it up. Okay. Maybe later. The phone lines are now open again. Thank you for calling my attention to that, Jimmy. But Dr. Andy Toltek was actually a MD, a doctor in Britain. And he also had moved from Britain down to Mexico, and he was a shaman down there. And he wasn't just any shaman, he was the shaman that the other shaman, including the indigenous shaman, would come to when they got something they couldn't get rid of. Because a lot of times a shaman will take a spirit, a sickness, infestation out of a person. Here's Jim, I think. Let me go ahead and answer this. Hold on, Jim. Let me share the screen. So Jim is called in here. We're going to share the screen. I'm going to turn on the sound. And boom, Jim, welcome to the DEprogram. What's on your mind tonight?
Kind of like what you're talking about, the vampires with the energy. I mean, I've come across it with many people that drew energy from other people. And I was always very careful with them because I could feel them try to tap into me.
Wow, yes.
But I had, and I myself, I hate to say that, I could also do that to other people.
Absolutely. It's a big responsibility, and we have to check ourselves sometimes.
Yes. And I was always very careful with it. But talking about the animals first is, I would say that anytime I went to battle, even if something happened out on the street, an animal always came over me.
Yes.
It's like I hit a button and I let that particular animal turn loose. It's not me anymore. And I mean, I've seen a lot of people see me in combat and they go like, "What was that you just did to them?" And I say, "I have no idea what I did or what it even looked like." But with my children that I taught martial arts to, and adults as well, I would tell them, you need to find an animal that you can relate to take into combat. So I would train them to tap into the animals. And it's kind of like a kung fu thing. I mean, I went through different animals to learn where my skills were with that particular animal to give me more power. If I wanted to be stronger, I would think of a bull or a gorilla. If I wanted to be really quick and fast, then I'd become a mongoose. So when I knew I needed it, I would tap into one of those animals and it would like come through me. But I had my children learning the different animals they were going through, and some of them I could see it, some of them I couldn't. And one of my students was very high intellectual, long, lanky. He was a geek, but he ended up becoming a damn good student. But he would jump from almost one end of the gym to the other. I've never seen any kid that could leap as far and go as far as they could go. But then I told him, I said, his name was also Jeff. I said, Jeffrey, I don't understand. You need to find an animal and bring that animal out of you. He goes, well, I do. I said, I don't see it. He goes, well, I do. I said, well, what animal are you relating to? He goes, the rabbit. I said, what? He goes, the rabbit. Why would you ask? I said, why would you use the rabbit? He goes, because the rabbit can always the luckiest and he can always jump out of the way. All right, that's enough.
That's
so anyway,
brilliant, Jim. That's brilliant.
You're welcome, brother. Well, I'll let you back to your show.
Thank you, sir. That's Jim, and that is absolute brilliance, cousins. And you don't maybe see the brilliance of it, but Jim is a very high level martial artist. I always joke with him, and he probably doesn't like me saying it, but Cynthia and I had our favorite a hamburger restaurant down in Branson when we were spending extended time down there. I can't remember the name of it, Cynthia, but I'm walking past this restaurant, or we're in this restaurant, and I'm going to the bathroom. And I'd seen pictures of Jim, and I knew that he did martial arts with Elvis. And so I'm walking past, and this picture catches my eye, and I look at it, and here's Jim pictured with Elvis doing martial arts. Now, Elvis had signed the photo, he had been in there. And I realized, wow, that's Jim. So Jim knows what he's talking about. And this is some of the great ancient shamanistic ways and powers of our people. But you know what the Christians think about this. It's okay to ask the Father and the Son, which are two energetic entities, to come into you. But somehow, if you want to leverage the spirit of the animals that are of nature and are our brothers and sisters in a very real sense, then all of a sudden you're dealing with the demonic. It's almost like they don't want us to leverage our ancient ancestral abilities because, as you know, these Christian knights are afraid to pick up a phone, so they're probably not going to pick up a sword. And it is awesome, Claudette. And I would encourage you to take Jim's advice. Go into meditation. Sit in nature and ask, what animal am I aligned with? I'm aligned with the stag. I'm aligned with the big cats. That's how I roll. And we're not out there trying to pick fights. We are people of peace. But when a man or a woman of peace gets backed into a corner and you have to literally fight your way out, or your loved ones or the innocent are being persecuted, then it's time to tap into your berserker. Then it's time to tap into your were creature, as Randall puts it. And then it's time to unleash holy hell, literally, upon those that would seek to dominate and harm the innocents among us. We are people of peace. But the last thing you want to do is push us too far. And I get the feeling that we can't get pushed much farther. It might be time to reach back to those ancient ancestral ways of our people. Kylie says that she would align with the cats or the lemurs. I get the cats, Kylie. Why the lemurs? I'm not even sure what a lemur is. Isn't that kind of like a little monkey-ish thing? Why would you align with the lemur? Not challenge you, just asking you, because I find it very, very interesting. Super Galactic says it's the butterfly. Now, I can understand float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Super Galactic is channeling Ali. Claudette aligns with the felines. And felines, yeah, I get it. I align with the big cats. Deborah says, I'll align with any animal. She's versatile. When her dog disappeared, she asked for an eagle. The eagle flew over her, and she knew where her dog was. And the next day he was home. That's powerful, Deborah. That's beautiful. That's what we're talking about. Christianity has gone out of its way to cut us off from the earth. It's gone out of its way to cut us off from the animals. It's gone out of its way to cut us off from the birds. It's gone out of its way to cut us off with the nature and nature as a whole. And if you'll recall that before Christianity showed up on earth, Bella says it's the wolf. Before Christianity showed up on earth, we were all deeply intertwined and connected with nature. Because if you weren't, you were dead. I long for the old days. I long for the old ways. Kylie says, I align with the lemur because they're cute and they can climb trees. That's good enough for me. I get it. I get it. It's good to be cute and it's good to be able to climb a tree because you can generally get away from danger by climbing trees. Daryl says he's like Deborah. Mav says that sounds like fun to Kylie. So such great, deep understanding, such great knowledge coming out to us, and even a silly little DEprogram like this one. Very, very powerful stuff. And this is why it's so good to just open up the phone line sometime and just talk to the cousins, because we have so much good stuff, so much knowledge within this community. It's very, very powerful. Let me share a few things that I've got saved for a time just like this, where for whatever reason, I just don't have anything. This time because I was writing too much. I mean, do you understand writing 500 pages in 5 days? It's crazy, but it's good stuff. You know, we're all worried about hantavirus now. We're all worried about the mRNA cupcakes, and we should be. But it's very interesting to note, and this just lets us know that it's not out of control. It's not a world gone crazy. Maverick doesn't know which animal he would align with, but we're giving you something to think about a little bit, right? We're giving you something to think about a little bit. So this hantavirus, it's new, it's horrible, it's sweeping everything, but son of a gun, the United States actually has a patent on it before any of us ever heard of it. Imagine that. And it grew out of the Four Corners region, which is Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah. And son of a gun, that's mainly reservation lands for the Indian nations and tribes, the Navajo, the Hopi, the Utes, the Southern Utes, the Zuni, and the Jicarilla Apaches. And, you know, it's crazy because the hantavirus patent was assigned to the U.S. Army in 1991 after a breakout of the said virus, or actually there was a breakout of it just 2 years after the U.S. Army got the patent. Isn't that interesting? They get the patent and the virus somehow gets out. That's crazy. Daryl is suggesting to Maverick that it's the bull. Maybe. And we've heard a lot about this idea of, you know, aliens are coming and the aliens are all demons. Well, in May of this year, we heard that a group of American evangelical leaders were privately briefed by United States intel officials regarding the upcoming significant disclosures about UFOs and about non-human intelligence. The new book, Assault on Camelot, which will be available in August, goes into this in great detail. Hello, Bill. Great to see you. And these pastors claim that the government brought them in to tell them that things are going to be coming out that would challenge the Judeo-Christian narrative, that craft were coming, creatures were coming, and that they better start getting their people ready, because there's going to be massive undisclosed disclosure regarding UFOs that are going to challenge traditional Christian beliefs. And the first thing the government does is warns the church about it. I find that very, very interesting. And these briefings immediately followed the February of this year directive by President Trump to the Department of War to declassify these UFO documents. So why are they preparing the Christians? Why are they preparing the Christians? I think it's very, very interesting. And even Congressman Eric Burleson claimed that Congress called this meeting because they're worried about Christianity being disclosed as a religion created by aliens from beyond, from the other side, just like Rabbi Laitman disclosed to us that they were. And the Times of Israel put out some information relating to this, relating to Donald Trump, which of course is kind of the Christian nationalist dancing bear. And there is this Muslim and covertly proto-Abrahamic and even Christian sect called the Don Mees. Of course, President Trump's first name is Don. I believe this comes from Colleen. And these Don Mees are a combination of all of the Abrahamic religions. They were awaiting their Messiah in 1648. And Zevi, you remember Zevi, in 1666, he was at the forefront of all of this. Sabbatai Zevi, proto-Abrahamic mystic, claimed to be the Messiah, and he was the first guy that began to publicly in 1666. And if you haven't read Robert Seffer's book, it's called 1666. There's a subtitle too, but if you just look for Robert Seffer, 1666, this was the first push towards what has now become standard Judeo-Christian doctrine, that we've got to bring the proto-Abrahamics back to the Holy Land, and we've got to rebuild the temple. Isn't it odd that two of the strongest doctrines within the Judeo-Christian biblical end times, Revelation, Armageddon narrative state that the Jews have to return to the land of Israel as we know it, and the third temple has to be rebuilt? How crazy is that, folks? How crazy is that? And he also claimed that acts traditionally considered as sinful would transform into righteous ones. You could make the argument that the atrocities that are going on within the Judeo-Christian fear and guilt, blood magic, mind control matrix, and next time you hear about one of these atrocities, I challenge you to look at the person and try to research and find out what their religious alliance is. Is this part of the agenda? Then we also get Jacob Frank. He was in the 1700s, and he said he was a reincarnation of Zevi. He believed in redemption through sin. Is there a deeper reason why all of these atrocities are suddenly being discovered within the clergy and the practitioners of the Judeo-Christian fear and guilt, blood magic, mind control matrix? Very, very weird. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And according to biblical eschatology, biblical end time theory, The Antichrist is one dude who will set himself up as savior, demand worship, act as a global dictator, deceive people with lies, and will be destroyed at the second coming. He'll set up his own laws. He'll wage war against those who will not worship the way he says that they should worship. And that sounds a lot like what Donald Trump is doing. Sounds a lot like what the Christian nationalists are pitching. And you may not know this, but the original deist framers of the American Republic before it was stolen deliberately modeled the American institutions after the heathen Roman Empire. Isn't that interesting? And Donald Trump publishes pictures of himself dressed up like the Pope. That's very interesting. And we did a DEprogram not too long ago about this guy who didn't even get created until the 1850s. And if you look at Baphomet, he's just like the Anunnaki gods. He's just like Jesus, the Jesus character. Kylie says, wow. I mean, that's a pretty striking similarity, isn't it? Why can't we see this when it's right in front of our faces? Maybe the better question is, why won't we see this when it's right in front of our faces? Here's another one right in your face. The Star of David, a national symbol of the Proto-Abrahamic peoples. And this came from Colleen. Take the modern Freemasonic emblem, connect the dots, and what have you got? The Star of David. Now, I think there's a distinct possibility that they even perverted that symbol, but as it is modernly manifest, there it is. Some of the stuff you can't unsee it. At least I hope you can't unsee it. Christian nationalism. Even the great liar Charlie Kirk says, oh, I'm not a Christian nationalist. I'm a Christian who's a nationalist. That's called obfuscation. But what they want to do, while on one side of their mouth, they want to claim that they want to separate church and state, and the other side of their mouth, they want to make America a Christian nation. And they've already said one of the very first mandates that would come out of a Christian nation would be the death penalty for apostates, which is defined as anybody that won't worship their God. I know you're more worried about Sharia law. I know you're more worried about Noahide laws. But if you were a betting person, if you were just an objective betting person, and you had to bet on the Islamics, which have about 1.2 or 3% representation in elected officials within the U.S. Congress and Senate. It's actually all the Congress, but I'm going to break it down so you can get it. Or if you had to look at the Proto-Abrahamics that have about a 7, maybe 8% share of the seats between the Senate and the House of Representatives in the U.S. Congress. Or the Judeo-Christians, which have a 90% share of the seats of power in the U.S. Senate and the House of Representatives. Which one would you really be most worried about taking over the government? Are you more worried about the ones that are 98% away from getting the job done? Would you rather worry about the ones that are 93% away from getting the job done? Or might you consider that the people that already have the job 98% done and only lack 2% might be worthy of some of your consideration? And the Don Me's. Wow. I hope I'm giving you some things to think about here tonight. Super Galactic says that Leonardo da Vinci tried to expose this to us. I think he's right. And what did Paul say? If Paul was real, if he was Josephus, doesn't matter. His writings comprise 66% of the New Testament. It's a very interesting number. Paul's writings comprise 66% of the New Testament. And Paul said some very interesting things. Paul said, I make myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. And I'm just reading from the Bible. It says, to the Jews, I'll become like a Jew. To those under the law, I'll become like one under the law. To those that don't have the law, I'll be like the one without the law. To the weak, I become weak to win the weak. I've become all things to all people. Boy, that sounds a lot like Rabbi Laitman. And this is where we get the saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And then Michael Flynn, General Flynn. Some of you still have warm fuzzies for him. I saw through him from the jump. And in 2024, he went to this thing called the Rod of Iron Freedom Festival. He was one of the keynote speakers. And he said if Donald Trump could win back the presidency, Katie bar the door because the gates of their holy hell would be unleashed. And that they had prepared a target list of over 350 people they'd go after were Trump reelected. And Michael Flynn, General Flynn, said, if Trump wins, we're going after these people. The Christian nationalists have said that if they take over the country, they're going after the people that won't bow the knee to Jesus. And here's the dude that sponsored that event where Michael Flynn said these things, standing in front of an American flag with a crown of bullets. This guy is the son of the Reverend Sun Myung Moon. And Cynthia was just talking about this earlier today. The Vatican is reporting a 300% rise in requests for exorcisms globally. Is there suddenly more demons? Or are they just suddenly getting more active because they know their time is running out? And now they've started to work with medical professionals. That is terrifying. Because you no longer have to be diagnosed by some kooky preacher as being demonic possessed and to have yourself subjected to a forced exorcism. And if you haven't watched the TV show Evil, EVIL, I think, Cynthia, it's on Paramount. You need to watch it. It had 5 seasons. It got shut down. We've seen 4 episodes, and it is kosher disclosure central. But now, medical professionals can say, this guy's got a problem. And they can bring you in and force you to undergo an exorcism. But wait, there's more. If you're in the land of Dagger, if you're in Canada, we've all seen that there was a doctor a brilliant young doctor who was overheard in a cafe drinking a Pib Zero Sugar, talking about the stuff that we talk about, and somebody there overheard him. And within days, the police pulled him over. The police said, "We've got a warrant to remand you for psychological evaluation." And within days, Cynthia fact-checked this, he was subjected against his will to euthanasia in Canada. Folks, don't be taken alive. And you know, there's an International Association of Exorcists. But Jeff, they say all aliens are demons. Well, not all of them, because this was either last year or the year before, the Vatican's, what do they call this thing? They put it out at Christmas, manger scene. What's it called? Yeah, this was the manger scene of the Vatican. Does that look like an astronaut to you? Does that look like an alien to you? Wow. Does that look like an astronaut, an alien to you? They tell us who they are. They tell us what they are. And then they tell us that aliens are demons. That's called kosher disclosure. And they tell you, and I tell you, and yet you still won't see it. What can I do? Ink you supposedly created from clay. And Yale wanted to wipe out humanity and built the boat like Noah. And what about the Zionist movement? How did the Zionist movement get started, which produced the modern nation of Israel? The Zionist movement wasn't started by the guy you think it was. It was actually started by a Christian pastor. And the reason why this Christian pastor started it was so he could speed the second coming of Christ. Claudette's in Canada. Isn't that something, folks? The largest Zionist organization in the United States is the Christian Zionist Organization, founded by John Hagee, who never met a donut he didn't like. Wow. It wasn't C.T. Russell, but he was also in on it. That one's too hot. That one's too hot. And you know, Charlie Kirk and all these people pushed this idea that America was started a Christian nation. It's demonstrably obvious to anybody that wants to do a little bit of study that the United States, the original American Republic, was founded as a deist nation where everybody could worship according to their own conscience and be left the hell alone. That's why they left England, got on boats, and undertook what was then one of the most perilous voyages people could take, knowing that half of them wouldn't complete the trip. They wanted to get away from the domination of Judeo-Christian fear and guilt, blood, magic, mind control matrix. And do you know it wasn't until the 1930s? Let's math a little bit. 1776, 1876, 1976, about 150 years before the modern idea of America as a Christian nation emerged under Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal policies. It wasn't until the 1930s that the political argument of America being a Christian nation was even born. The notion of Christian America did not start until the 1930s. And your 2 cents worth, the first time the phrase "In God We Trust" ever appeared on American currency was in 1864. That's a long time after 1776. During the Civil War, a Christian minister named M.R. Watkinson petitioned the Secretary of State, Salmon P. Chase of the Union, to add a religious reference to U.S. coins to demonstrate the nation's Christian identity. The Civil War, one of the main reasons it was fought, was to establish this idea of Christian identity. And in 1908, they passed a law requiring "In God We Trust" on all coins. Did you hear that? 1776 to 1876. It was over 150 years before "In God We Trust" was placed in American coinage. Wow. And it wasn't until 1956, 200 years after the founding of the original American Republic, that the great trader Dwight D. Eisenhower signed into law in 1956, not 1776, not 1876, but 1956. President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed a law that required "In God We Trust" to be on all U.S. paper currency, putting into official government policy that Lincoln, the invaders' Treasury Secretary, Salmon P. Chase, first suggested after being petitioned by a Christian minister. Are you starting to connect some dots? Are you starting to connect the dots? And this is just something I want to throw out there. Why do we have this idea of Friday the 13th? Oh, it's a bad day. Friday the 13th is a horrible day. Oh, we say it was when the Templars were slain. But I can't help but notice that Christianity teaches us that the Jesus character, who wasn't real, was crucified on a Friday. And as you dig into the calendars, it is all but certain that if Jesus would have been real, and if he would have been crucified, it's very, very likely he was crucified on Friday the 13th. He was crucified on Friday the 13th. Now that makes it very, very interesting about the lore of Friday the 13th being a horrible, horrible day. He was arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane for being a pirate on the 12th. Kylie's birthday's on the 13th. And here's a big one for you. Take a look at this. There's no 13th doors in many warehouses. There's no 13th floors listed on the elevators of many elevators. FBI reveals a chilling message from outer space people. Look at that symbol. It should maybe remind you of something. It's called a black something or other. A black something or other. And the FBI reveals this, telling us the bad aliens might come under this symbol. And just to show there's nothing wrong with Friday the 13th, Jay Bing was born on Friday the 13th, so we know it's not bad. And Trump says that these aliens who are demons, they consider humanity the lowest form of universal existence, like dogs and cattle. Wow. 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 I'll leave this up here. Here's the FBI documents documenting that, so you can mark this and go to it if you want. U.S. military personnel in 2013 saw an 8-pointed star changing shape mid-flight. Apollo 12 reported unexplained objects hovering over the lunar surface. We go very deep into that in the assault on Camelot. President Trump directed Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to lead the UFO extraterrestrial investigations. Isn't that really weird? Isn't that really weird? And from the really weird department, every firefighter in the United States is directed by FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Association. In Chapter 13 of the Fire Officer's Guide to Disaster Control, Chapter 13, every single firefighter has to learn this. It's entitled Enemy Attack and UFO Potential, automatically making every UFO an enemy. And it outlines the procedures for firefighters from a federal level of what they're supposed to do in an alien invasion. Wow, the things you learn up in here. That's crazy. Charles Taze Russell started the Bible Students Movement, which became the Jehovah's Witnesses. He died on Friday the 13th. Boy, this is interesting stuff. Wow. Super Galactic says he's picking up what I'm putting down. Thanks, Super G. Appreciate you very, very much. Well, I sat down 2 hours ago and said, I don't got much to talk about tonight. And here we are 2 hours later. Shannon Doherty also died on Friday the 13th. Very interesting. Very interesting. Wow. Good stuff, folks. I really appreciate you being here tonight. I will be back on Sunday, and I will have something prepared. But it's been a great time just to get together, a great time just to talk, a great time just to chat, a great time to bring out some of the tremendous things that get buried under the onslaught of information that I receive via my own study, and that I constantly get from the cousins sending me the fruits of their labors. Claudette says it was on fire. I think it really was. Jay Mars says, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Jay Mars. Sometimes I get depressed. Only lasts for a few seconds. Sometimes I get mad. That might last for a minute. I know I work harder than anybody on the internet. I know I put out better content than anybody on the internet. I know I'm the world's greatest living Bible scholar. I know I've forgotten more about the Bible than anybody else I know even knows. And yet, we struggle for more eyes and ears. We struggle for monetization, which I just got this sneaky feeling that YouTube's going to come through. But whether they do or not, doesn't really matter. But if you want to help a brother out, you can go to Cash App at unindoctrinate or $ at unindoctrinate. You can go to PayPal, my email address, gothamltd@gmail.com. Thank you, Kylie. Appreciate it. Thank you, Claudette. I'm not going to show James because he says it was just a pretty good show. Pretty good. I'm kidding. So there you go, folks. I'm glad you were here tonight. I've closed the phone lines. They're no longer open. We're going to do just 2 hours and 6 minutes instead of 3 hours tonight. It's exciting. It's an exciting time to be alive. No, the phone's not open anymore. And if you're here tonight and you're a visitor, or if you're here tonight and you're a long time watcher, I'm going to put another one in. I just want to ask you I want to leave you with one question. Is it a full buck moon? What's a full buck moon, Deborah? The fact that it's a full moon makes a lot of sense to me. If it is. If that's what you're saying. But I want to leave you with one question. If you're a cousin, if you're a regular listener, you already got this. There's going to be a lot of people getting a hold of me. I don't know what you mean. I'll take that in a good way. What if you don't have original sin? That's pretty good. That's a new one. That's the Rogue 15 Max Blue Raspberry. And if you want to try these nicotine pouches, they're amazing for losing weight, for energy. Send me an email. I'll send you a discount code where you can get like $30 off and I can get some free pouches. So just send it to me at my email, which is, I'll put it in the chat. Of course, it's not all capitals, but I like to put in all capitals because you can see it. GothamLTD@gmail.com. And I think my Cash App is $unindoctrinate. You can use that email for PayPal if you'd like to donate there. And I got to work on this because it doesn't do much for me, but I need to put some stuff up. Here's the email address, which has a donation link on it. So the full moon is when the deers grow velvet-covered antlers. Oh, and I relate to the deer. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Leading us to knowledge. Thank you, Jay Bing. The stars show themselves. Yes, the stags show themselves too. I'm a stag, baby. I'm the great stag. Let me see if I can find that picture that Cynthia was talking about real quick. Because she's got a point. Where's my photos? Where's mine? Let me go to my... This will be a lighthearted... Let me go to my Google Drive. This will be a lighthearted end to a hard-hitting DEprogram. I can't find it real quickly. Let me go to my drive. Here we go. I might find it here. The picture of Cynthia and I. Let me share this. This is, some of you don't know what she looks like. This is the lovely Cynthia. I just want to share that with you so you can get an idea what the lovely Cynthia looks like. That's her. Now let me see if I can find this picture that she was talking about of the day we met. It's actually pretty funny. I hope I can find it. I might not be able to, but I'm going to try because it's funny. And she might have a point. She might have a point that she potentially could not have been immediately attracted to me because I looked a little different back then. Doesn't look like I'm going to find it. But at any rate, she might have a point. She might have a point. I know I've got it on my phone. I could always open it up and show it to you on the phone. It's funny. And like I said, it kind of helps me to end the show on a light, fun note. Let me go to my photos. This is the most recent photo of the lovely Cynthia and I. Yes, I'm a lucky man. But on device. I'm sure I can I find this? Messages, Twitter. Of course, I'm probably not going to be able to find it right now. Oh, here it is. Here's the day that Cynthia and I met. Is it possible that she wasn't attracted to me? I'm pushing 240 there. Bad haircut. Soul patch. Well, maybe. Well, maybe. So anyway, there you go. There you go. She asked me to show it, and I have no fear. I showed it. Wearing the same jacket, though. Of course, it wouldn't wrap around me, but... And I'm like 184, 183 today, so we're going in the right direction. Rooney has awakened. He's arisen. So it's time to go ahead and get out of here. We appreciate you all very much. I'm so glad that you were here tonight. I'm so glad we had some time to talk and to share. I'm so glad we had some time to bring these things to you that don't always get brought to you. And somebody always says, Jeff, is there any video of you preaching? No, this is about the best I can do. This is a picture of me when I was a preacher. This is from one of my, the comedians and the actors. They've got their, what do they call those headshots? Whoops. Well, this is me as a preacher. This is me as a preacher. So don't say that I never showed you what I look like as a preacher, because there it is. At least I got a nice tie on. At least I got a nice suit. But looking a little bit like Alex Stein right there. Looking a little bit like Alex Stein. Whoops, can I make it bigger? That's as big as it goes. So there you go. A picture of Jeff as a preacher. I look like a preacher, don't I? I can't remember what that year was, man. I really can't. That had to be 19... gosh, when was that? It was probably in the 80s. So there you go. There you go. I was very young. I was kind of plump. So there you go. Somebody says TMI. Probably was. But now you know. Well, looks like John Hagee. Dude, I'm 200 pounds lighter than John Hagee. Rooney, he's over there. Hey, Rooney, what's going on? Thank you, Claudette. She says I age like fine wine. And the more wine you drink, the better I look. So, now we're just getting silly. But it's all right to get silly every now and then. I want to remind then. And you don't have to go on bended knee to somebody else's Savior, hoping he'll save you from the sin he gave you, when you realize that you're divine, sovereign, and free. You're part of the last generation of real humans. Randall would say the last battalion of real humans. And he's not wrong. This world will be better than it's ever been, sooner than we can even imagine. Because we're finding out who we are, and we're finding out who they are. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower, often imitated, never duplicated, saluting you for being here seeking after truth. I will see you again on Sunday, if not before. I appreciate you. Be well.